These are all the books that I read in September. The stack is pretty small. It is the least amount of books that I've read all year, which is sad, but I feel like it was reasonable. I went on a 2-week vacation, which while I was still reading on vacation, it's not my normal routine. I was busy, I was doing things, I got sick. So I had that going on for me. Then I feel like I was in a little bit of a book slump post-vacation because I was still a little sick and I just did not want to read. So there was that as well. And I've just been really busy lately, especially kind of setting up for Booktober. So it really wasn't my biggest priority, but I was still able to squeeze in 5 reads. I'm gonna pop up some stats up here. Read a total of 5 books, a couple of different genres. It was a little varied. They were all physical books. So that is also probably why I didn't read as much, because I've been neglecting my audiobooks, which is not good. So moving forward, I'm gonna try to focus on that. But let's just dive right into the books that I did read. The first book that I read and finished in the month of September was Love Arranged by Lauren Asher. This was a new release. This is book 3 in the Lakefront Billionaires series, and I believe it's the final book as well. So I think this is a trilogy. This is the last book. This one I was really looking forward to because after reading the second book in the trilogy, which I only read about a month ago, I was really invested in the story, and I couldn't wait for Lily and Lorenzo's story because they were teased a little bit in the last book. Now, this is a fake marriage for convenience. That's the main trope. And honestly, at first, I kind of felt like it was the traditional, they want to be together but won't for the sake of the story. But Lorenzo, our male main character, actually brings up a really valid point as to why he doesn't want to advance things further with Lily, even though there are feelings there starting to kind of brew and accumulate. So I thought that was really interesting, and it felt like it just made the story more real. I actually really bought into their romance. I was rooting for them towards the end. I really just wanted them to be together. They're both a very different people with very different childhoods. One of them has undergone a lot of trauma, and there's just things he needs to work on. It's Lorenzo. It's things he needs to work on before he can really be in like a committed long-term relationship, but I feel like he knows that and he is actively trying to do that. So I feel like it made me want them together even more because I felt like they were both mature enough. I will say also, this is a great book to pick up this month because literally like the first couple of pages are like text messages between Lily and Lorenzo, and they actually meet at a Halloween party. So I think it's the perfect vibe, and then it just goes into a really nice, compelling story that is full of romance. So honestly, I didn't even say what I rated this. Sorry, I'm a little rusty, but I ended up rating this 3.75 stars. That's almost 4 stars. Again, I enjoyed it. I feel like I did like her first series better. I don't know, they're about equal actually now that I think about it. They're both trilogies, both billionaire series, and they're both good. This one gets extra points for me because it's all Latino based and all the main characters are Latino, which obviously that's bonus points from me. But other than that, it was a great start to the month of September. As I was saying, I'm a little rusty. I actually ended up rating Love Arranged 3.5 stars and not 3.75. So sorry about that. Anyway, moving on. The next book that I read, I did rate 3.75 stars, and that was Call Me By Your Name by Luca Guadagnino. I don't know how to say his name. This is the movie cover of the book. So yes, there's a movie with Timothée Chalamet and Armie Hammer, and I've heard a lot about this movie, so I feel like I've always wanted to read the book first. That's kind of something that I like to do with any and all movie and TV projects. So I read the book, and I actually really liked it. This is about Elio and Oliver. Elio is Timothée Chalamet's character, Oliver is Armie Hammer's character, and Elio's family lives in the Italian like Riviera. They own a villa, and every summer they host like professionals at their house, kind of as like a program, but just for them to like stay there for a couple of weeks and leave. And the professional that stays in their summer house is none other than Oliver. And Elio is just at a really peculiar place in his life where he's like coming of age, learning about things, and he starts developing really strong and intense feelings for Oliver. And when I say strong and intense, I mean it. Like, I feel like that was my favorite part of this book. It's just the way the author kind of tells us everything that's going on inside of Elio's head. It's very visceral, it feels super real. And I feel like I liked the writing style more than the actual plot itself, because it's not a super convoluted, complex plot. It's pretty simple. But again, the writing, it just made me not want to put the book down because I was so kind of entranced with Elio's feelings things and how he was describing things. It was really interesting. I feel like I've never read a book like that. So I really enjoyed it. I feel like I definitely want to watch the movie now and then just kind of compare it to the book and see if there are any similarities or what the differences are. Again, like I mentioned, the plot is pretty basic. It's nothing too complex, but yet I still found myself really wanting to finish the book. It is short, so that was obviously a plus. It was a really fast, easy read. I took this with me to Japan and I read it, I think, in like 3 different seatings. Like it did not take me a long time to finish this book, and it was just that entertaining. So I actually would recommend this book. Next up, we have another book that I read in Japan. I took it with me, and I actually specifically chose to take this book because it is Japanese literature that was translated into English, and that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I feel like you guys have probably seen this book before. It's very popular, very famous. I ended up rating it 3.75 stars. This book is 4 short stories compiled into one kind of novel. Going into that, I knew to expect that, and I've heard a lot of things of people saying like some stories are more entertaining than others, and I will say I agree with that. I will also say and add that one of these stories in this book actually made me like emotional, like almost on the brink of tears. And I feel like when a book can move you like that, it's serving its purpose. So obviously that kind of was reflected in the rating of the book, I feel. All 4 short stories were really short as well. So it was nice knowing that, because I kind of could pace myself and say, okay, I'm gonna sit down and read 1 short story and just kind of go at it that way. But the main premise of this book is that there is a coffee shop, and anyone who enters in the coffee shop has a chance to go to the past. And there's a couple rules, like you can't do anything that'll change the future. You have to come back before the coffee gets cold. So that's where the title comes in. I thought that was really interesting. And when I spotted that, I was like, full circle moment. That's what the title means. And those are kind of the basic parameters of the time travel aspect of this book. Not a huge time travel girly, but I did like that this book didn't over kind of explain it. It was pretty basic. There are just a couple rules that our characters need to follow, and it was pretty simple to digest. So I liked it for those reasons. I don't think I'm going to continue the series because this is part of a little book series, but I would recommend it as something that is like a specific kind of niche type of book recommendation. If you're looking for time travel, something that's not taking place in the US, and something that will elicit some emotion, then I would point you in this book's direction. Book number 3 that I read was Piglet. Now, this was the book club book of the month for me and my friends, so this is the book that we read. I ended up rating it 3.75 stars. I actually really vibed with this book. I feel like this type of little genre is one that I don't typically read, and that is just kind of women unhinged is the overarching kind of theme. And I will say, I liked it because of that. I feel like our main character, her name is Piglet. Actually, that's where the title comes in. That's her like family nickname, which I'm like, y'all couldn't have chose a better, more suited name for your daughter. Like, I don't know. Her name is Piglet. That's what she goes by. I'm not gonna judge. I really liked her. I feel like she was put in a really difficult situation, and she made some really realistic choices. Now, the main premise of this book is we have Piglet and her fiance. They're about to get married, literally on the brink, like a couple of weeks or months before. And the timeline is really interesting because we go like a couple of months in advance of their wedding, then we start getting closer to the wedding, we get to the wedding. But a couple of weeks, like I think 2 weeks before the marriage or the actual wedding itself, Piglet's fiance, Kit, confesses a betrayal to her. Now, we don't actually end up finding out what this betrayal is, and I will say that was kind of my biggest issue with the book because I really wanted to know what was happening, but I do enjoy the fact that the author made the deliberate choice to not tell us what the betrayal was, because then it's kind of our choice to kind of think up what this betrayal could have been. So I see the point. I would have preferred to know because I'm nosy and want to know everything, but that's not how it ended up being. So there's a very interesting relationship with food talked about in this book, and I feel like that's obviously why there's a cheeseburger on the cover. And our main character, like the things that she's going through in real life, they're pretty tumultuous, pretty difficult things, and that is reflected in her relationship with food. And I just thought that was really interesting because I've never read a book like this, so I thought it was unique, and I thought it was pretty thought-provoking because it was a good book for discussion, and that was a perfect choice for a book club book. I do feel like if we were actually told what the betrayal big secret was, I would have rated this 4 stars, but 3.75 is a great rating. I would still recommend. Another book that's kind of niche, I feel like that was the theme for this month, or at least for like 2 or 3 of my reads, was just interesting books that are a little bit out of my comfort zone, and that might have been why I didn't read as many as well. The last and final 5th book that I read in the month of September was actually my favorite book of the month, and that was Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. This is book 2 in a fantasy duology, and the first book was Phantasma, which I read last month, and I actually really liked that book, rated it 4 stars. This one I liked even more. I ended up rating it 4.5 stars, and this is about Genevieve. Genevieve is Ophelia's sister. Ophelia is the main character in the first book. So I really like that theme of sisterhood because we get like our reoccurring characters in both books, but we follow Genevieve, who from the first book I kind of felt like I was going to like more, and whose story I felt like I was going to be more interested in, and I feel like that was actually true. Her story basically is her she's in Italy for like a specific purpose, and she finds this manor, like a huge spooky kind of gothic dark house where she's sort of led to, and once she enters the gates of this house she can't leave. And she runs into Rowan, who ends up being our male main character, but he actually has like 6 other siblings. So it's like a family of like 7. And these siblings are all sort of magical beings, and they are trying to find a cure for their mother because she has like this sort of fatal terminal illness. And they make a bargain with the devil, and basically they have to do this hunt every year, I believe once a year. And in this hunt, they all have to like hunt each other, obviously, and kill each other, and there's only one winner. And so once Genevieve kind of enters the manor, she's subjected to this game, and the game is called Enchantra, so that's the title of the book. The only kind of main caveat is that she's immortal. She does have some sort of powers, but she's not immortal like Rowan, our male main character, and his siblings are. So the only way that she realistically can make it out alive is by getting together with someone, one of the siblings, and try to play as a pair and win. So that's kind of where we head into the more details of the book, which I don't want to share because I don't want to spoil, but I will say I was entertained the entire time. I couldn't put the book down. For several moments I felt like I could give this book 5 stars, and I feel like I'm still kind of on the fence about it because it's definitely 4.5 stars. I feel like the only reason I didn't give it 5 was because it was still too fresh in my memory. I feel like 5-star reads are books that I think about very often. They're books that I always want to recommend, and ones that kind of leave a lasting impact. So obviously I feel like I haven't felt that just yet, but if I do continue to think about this book, I feel like I would absolutely rate it 5 stars. So I feel like it's on the path, but not there yet. Regardless, again, super entertaining. I think this is the perfect book for spooky season as well because it's a fantasy book, but it's definitely giving kind of horror, thriller, mystery vibes. There's so many aspects of it that make it like scary and spooky. And I feel like this is definitely the most thriller mystery-esque book, fantasy book that I have ever read. So I would absolutely recommend the duology. Phantasma, the first book, was great in and of itself, but definitely strap in and buckle up because this book takes you on an adventure, and I just loved it. I really want to read more books like this. I feel like, again, perfect season to read sort of atmospheric novels like this, and Kaylee Smith did an amazing job. If she has any other books, I will be reading them because this was just so much fun. The siblings also, just a side note, have like these familiars, that's what they're called, and they're like little pets, basically. Like Rowan, our male main character, his familiar is a fox and her name is Umbra, and it's just so cute how they're like their own characters in the story and have like significant impact on the plot itself. So I thought that was really cute. So many things going for this book. If you guys see this book around, definitely pick it up because I think it is well worth the read. So those were the 5 books that I read in the month of September. Again, not too much, but hopefully this month, October, I read a lot more. I have a lot of fantasy. I have a lot of, what's the other genre that I have a lot of? Fiction. I'm always reading fiction. I think there's some thriller mystery, I think a romance. Like we have a lot of different genres going for us in October, and they're books that I genuinely am obsessed with and cannot wait to read. So that is where we're at. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and you continue watching Booktober because I'm having a lot of fun making these videos and getting into the fall season. So that's it for today, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.